Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So everybody knows our name tags are in front. John Malcolm, Jessica Van Ort, Rich Hewlett, Mike Beecher. Bob's absent today. If anybody wishes to address the board, you need please state your name first. And do they all need to sign in, correct?
Did everybody sign in on the form back there? I noticed. If you wouldn't mind, that would be great. And
it was overfilled.
Oh, you can flip it up. Beautiful. Thank you for your ingenuity.
Addition or deletions?
Yep, so we have a couple of additions this evening. So under pre-requested appearances, Matthew Corey and Emily Johnson are here. We also have Mike Wesco. And under new business, Jessica has found a grant opportunity from the Vermont Outdoor Recreational Communities Program. And under old or unfinished business, I'd like to talk about the OWL hybrid model tool, because Jessica and I attended a demo today to talk about a tool for a hybrid meeting to get us online and in person. So, not sure if we're still planning to discuss winter sand and salt this evening. Okay. And then otherwise, we already had on the agenda to talk about the ARPA funds, the use of them, and also the placement of the radar speed signs.
And the tractor for mowing.
And the tractor for mowing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a full agenda.
We're full agenda. And just so everybody in the audience knows, my name is Kristen, and we have a full agenda this evening, so if at any point in time I cut you off kindly or make a comment about keeping track of time, it's just because we only have 2 hours to get through everything. So no hard feelings, but we just gotta keep it structured. So everybody in pre-requested appearances gets about 5 to 10 minutes, and everything else is allotted within the agenda.
Okay. Approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Did anybody see anything that needed to get adjusted in those minutes, or everything looked to be in order?
I'll move that we accept the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Pre-requested. Did you have one or the other
So
scheduled first?
Matthew and Emily requested first, so. You're up.
So I have some things for you guys.
Wherever's comfortable for you.
So, hello everyone. Many of you probably don't know me. I am Emily Johnson. I don't recognize many faces in here, but it's nice to put some names to some faces. So, I am here tonight on behalf of myself, my fiance Matt Corey, our neighbors, and the environmental value of our concerns being presented tonight. Matt and I were both raised in West Rutland. We then resided in Castleton for a length of time before we settled into the eastern edge of town on Kelly Hill Road in 2018. For many reasons we moved here, but a few are the calm, back-home feel, the picturesquely restored farmhouses, the locavore lifestyle, and the never-ending charm of the neighboring lush green mountains surrounding us. Matt's family is closely tied to the area, so it could be considered a bit of a homecoming. Until fall of last year, we did nothing but brag about the novelty of this place we consider home. Beginning in the fall, as the leaves fell and the weather began to shift, so did the quality of life on our property. The Robley Farm gravel pit, operated by one Chet McClellan, which borders our property, unknowingly at the time, was working outside of their permits. When they opened the face of the pit to the west of our property, it opened up a funnel to blow fine particulate dust anytime the wind blows. This dust has encroached on nearly every inch of our property. If you are outside when it's happening, you can feel the crunch between your teeth. This continued through the winter, coating every snowfall with a sandy shade of dirt. Fast forward to May 19th of this year. After several weeks worth of conversations, forwarded videos and photographs of the complete distress we have been living in, Act 250 compliance officers and Air Quality Division enforcers came to assess our concerns. This visit resulted in 8 violations. Some of these violations were immediate action deadlines. Some of these were this past Friday, August 8th deadlines, and what will be approaching of the September 6th deadlines. Thus far, nothing has changed. Enforcement of violations and accountability are foundering. The compromising of air quality is obvious not only in what we experience regularly, but in the violations documented and issued by the state of Vermont officials. Please note Compliance Directive Number 5. McClellan must immediately take action to prevent wind-blown dust or dust from crushing and screening activities from drifting off the Robley Farm quarry property and onto the quarry property. Actions may include, but not be limited to, reclaiming portions of the quarry where dust is being generated by regrading and seeding or application of water or calcium chloride as dust control measures. The state claims water mitigation actions in accordance with the crusher requirements have taken place, yet upon observation it is undetectable. The claim is a water tank source. Where is this water being extracted from? The brook? If so, it also requires an additional permit. So let's move forward to Thursday, July 29th, when they blasted in the freeze lot pit area. As required by their 1R0932-2 permit, they are obligated to notify landowners at least 1 week prior to blasting. This never occurred. No letter, no phone call, 0 notification. The blast was prominently detected on our property to the point of disturbing loose items in our home. This town has set the precedent of proactively aiding taxpayers from further affliction of civil offenders in West Pawlet. So I ask you all, is this applicable to the McClellan violations happening on Kelly Hill Road as well? Where is a copy of the original contingency permit issued by the town for this operation? Will this town strive to hold each other equally accountable and reprimand violators appropriately and consistently? And to this community, will you support your neighbors by enforcing a resolution to ensure quality of life for fellow taxpayers? The air and water quality is largely at risk. Would any of you in this room comfortably breathe this air? Would you allow your spouses, your children? Kidney disease, silicosis, COPD, and lung cancer are a few of the potential risks. In 1996, the World Health Organization, in conjunction with the International Agency on Cancer Research, identified crystalline silica as a known human carcinogen. So we ask you all, will you support clean, safe water and breathable air for your neighbors, or will you idle by your civic commitment while your neighbors face anguish? On the computer there's a reel of video documentation of what we live with. Anytime the wind blows, when it hasn't been raining, when there is no leaf cover, This is what we live with every single day. There's also photos that document how much it is settling on everything on our property. Thank you.
Does anybody on the board have any questions?
Well, I guess I have a number of questions, but I know that you said you spoke, Kristen, you spoke to Jonas, our zoning administrator, earlier, and was he able to discover the permit for this McClellan Trucking LLC for that property? I mean, obviously there's some Act 250 stuff going on with the state as well, which we wouldn't have records of that, but for our local permit that he might have gotten some time ago.
So Mike, if I may, so I spoke with our zoning administrator trying to get some information before the meeting, just because I wasn't exactly sure what permit or what the situation was coming into it. And he had mentioned that if it was about the question of whether or not a permit was issued, you know, he would have to look into who it was for and so on and so forth. He did share that the town does not issue permits for blasting, so that is Act 250. And it seems like you already have had contact and visits, etc. with Act 250. So that's all that I had really gotten from Jonas, and he did ask if you had brought anything to the board tonight to please get copies so that he could see it, which I thank you for doing.
And
So-
I can forward
Yeah, I can.
video to anyone
I'll
that would
send,
like a copy.
yeah, I'll send you guys a message later and give you his contact information too, just so that he can have it as well. So that was all that, just because I didn't know the nature, that was all the information that we had really been able to touch upon. So I don't know, I don't have an answer in terms of where the original permit is. And depending on the nature of what the permit is for, it might or might not have been issued even by the town, because in some instances, the town does not have this under their belt. So it's not a matter of whether or not the town cares, because we're all humans and the town absolutely cares. It's, so that, you know, that's all that I have, unfortunately, at this point.
If I may, Mike Westcott, the information you're looking for, I have.
Thank you.
So, Act 250 has visited the scene, and they have total control over that. We don't have any control over
Unless there's a
permit.
conditional use permit issued.
Which,
Act 250 has total control over this right now at this point. And they overstep all of our bounds, supersede all of our bounds. So this is really an issue between you and Act 250 and the operators of the permit. The town really doesn't have any room to get into it.
So was the incident in West Pawlet, was there any 250 compliance issues with that situation?
There's no permits for any of that.
Tied to 250 at all?
And
Anything that happened that over there tied to Act 250?
they should be involved,
But they're not.
but they won't take a
But
stance.
is it a 250 issue?
It's also an Act 250 issue, it's also
So did
an
the
environmental
town
court
resolve
issue.
that?
It's all pending right now. We're working on
and that topic, if I may interrupt, that topic is not on the agenda this evening, and it's ongoing civil litigation, and it's not at the liberty to be discussed in a public meeting. So, thank you for that.
Could I speak?
Yes.
So my question is, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to see happen? Him brought into compliance? Or what is your goal?
Our goal is to be able to sit outside on our deck and live on our property and not have to breathe in something that could kill us. We don't want to compromise our well. If the blasting doesn't have permits, the blasting can be done way outside of acceptable limits that could compromise our water source as well as neighbors' water sources.
So in that case, the state is going to step in and take care of it and bring him into compliance would be my assumption at this point. If he's violating the Act 250 permits,
They're violating the Town of Pawlet 2008-01 conditional use permit, if that permit exists.
Isn't this pre-existing?
No. It is
No.
not.
This gravel pit was not in operation before zoning went into
The whole
effect?
reason for- It's the entire reason for the -2 permit at Act 250 is based on compliance issues from violation in 2007, within the first year that they started the operations on the pit.
Kristen?
My only other add-on from Jonas was that he had mentioned that you and him had worked together about finding permits, and his recollection, which he was in Castleton doing his other job, so he said, not to entirely quote him, but that was not a conditional use permit, unless the one that he sent you was.
It's marked conditional use
Okay.
on the paperwork,
Okay, so then he'll,
as the one in 2006.
hey, I'm
It's
just,
marked as a conditional use
I'm a regular
permit.
old girl here, just trying to, I'm just saying that requires further, that means that it's an additional level that needs to be peeled back through perhaps the
Well, there's a
DRB.
whole question whether the permit exists or not.
Right.
Zoning Administrator Rosenthal.
You are also have the floor, correct? You also have requested to be on the agenda. Let's finish with them and then we can move to you.
Tied together?
I know they're tied together, but let's make sure that they have every chance they have to say everything you want to say.
So I do have one more question here. I mean, as the select board, which is the sole governing body in the town of Pawlet, would it be possible for us to write a letter to these folks who are supposed to be bringing this property into compliance and just, state our concerns about the air quality in the town? I mean, I know they don't necessarily have to listen to us over there. Like you said, they outrank us, but like when there's something before the Supreme Court and they issue an amicus brief, could we, if we wanted to, could we write some sort of letter to them saying, we are also concerned about this as a town?
Well, right now, I think that it needs to get worked through the environment, or the Act 250. And some of these, you said, we need to have, the inspector needs to go again and to determine indeed if he's fulfilled all his requirements on that inspection
Well,
before we step anymore.
yeah, I mean, could we ask them if the inspector has gone back? Because some of these were dated,
Chet is here.
July the 1st and August the 6th.
That'd be a question for Chet.
Has the inspector come back, Chet?
No,
Not yet. Okay.
got one coming before September 6th.
Okay. But it's still, we have, as a select board, we can, in this situation like this, we have no real power to do anything above what Act 250 has. So we have to work through them, and after they make their determinations.
So let me ask you this, do we have your support?
We don't have enough information, well, the board doesn't have enough information right now for me to support this. I need to gather more information from all sides.
So you're telling me you'd like to live in that?
That doesn't look like a nice environment,
Not at all.
but until I have all the information from all sides involved in it, I'm not willing to make a,
The board does have the authority to enforce the conditional use permit, which clearly states erosion of any kind is not allowed. If you'd like to see copies of everything, I have it.
well, I'm gonna default to the Act 250 permit because they're more skilled and trained in that than I am on the
You're not
board.
going to support your own conditional use permit that's been filed by the town?
I'm going to support what the Act 250 board says to get my information before I go up there and decide on my own whether,
You have that in front of you right now. You have that information
Are we-
from the state.
Are we done? I feel like this.
we're starting into the next
Yeah,
next thing, and quite honestly, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but you brought it to our attention and we can evaluate it. We need to take more information and work on it, but I don't feel there's anything we can do tonight with the information we have at hand from your statement. What does the rest of the board feel?
Well, I feel that we should set a specific time to gather more information and return to the topic perhaps in 2 weeks. Because whenever we take an issue and we say we're going to return to it later, if we don't give it a specific time, sometimes we don't return to it. And I think to have accountability for this issue, which is a big issue for these folks who are having trouble with it, if we said, let's look into this issue of the permits over the next 2 weeks, gather some more information, and then discuss it and possibly make a decision, that would give, I think, accountability.
Okay. John, how do you feel?
I agree with you. I think we need more information through Act 250.
Do you think that 2 weeks is enough time to gather more information? And we certainly,
I think it's a goal.
we'll certainly return it to the agenda in 2 weeks with more information compiled. Rich?
I think we need to hear from the Act 250 inspector and find out if he is out of compliance, what it's going to take to get him back into compliance. And, I mean, we don't know that, right? We don't know if he's out of compliance. They're saying that he is. We don't know that unless we talk with the Act 250 inspector and find out what he does have for permits and what they say at this point.
And if he's complied with these violations that they've charged him with on this day.
Do you have permits with you, Chat? Or anything with you?
The maps.
Yeah, why don't you bring that stuff up here?
We don't have any power to do it, but as a board.
So we're going to need some time to review this information.
Is this something you have to keep on site?
I can make a copy if you want.
Over a pair of glasses. Now with this complaint, if I may, Mike. When you filed this complaint, I would assume, right?
Yes.
So how did you know that it was unsafe blasting procedures? Improper permits?
Well, it says right in that permit that she showed that's already been issued to him, that he's supposed to notify the neighboring properties 1 week before he blasted, which
And that didn't happen?
none of the neighbors that were here will tell you that it happened.
Inadequate training?
Do not train, obviously you're not trained right if you don't know how to read your permits and do what you're supposed to do. And it's pretty common knowledge.
And defective equipment?
This is the active workplace.
Defective equipment, that stuff came right from the state. That letter that she has in the Vermont letterhead came from the state of Vermont with the violations in a PDF file that they shipped to me. There are violations against Chet that he's supposed to take recreation to. They're talking about defective equipment, the fact that none of his equipment's got none of his shakers or anything else has got water on it.
It appears to me there that wasn't from crushing or
That
scraping.
right there is not from crushing,
No.
that's from wind-blown dust from open faces. And as soon as fall gets here, we'll be right back in the same boat.
Okay, so these are all the maps. We're going to have to set some time again aside to study this and get more.
And that's really good.
So we have to,
That was handy.
Could I take a look at the bottom corners of the maps that he's presenting to make sure they're the right maps for the Act 250 permit?
Well, this is just the insurance.
Blaster.
You hired an outside?
Yep. Who was the blaster?
What?
Who was the blaster?
Woody.
Wood drilling and blasting from...
License number? Is there a license number to go with it?
This is just the insurance form. I'm sure there is some. I'm sure he's got one. You probably got a photocopy or... This is just a certificate of liability. And his workers' comp.
Why weren't the neighbors notified?
Questions have to be addressed to the chair of the board, please, for the meetings.
There's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and I know that we can't answer them all tonight. So we'll come back with more answers next week, or in 2 weeks at the next meeting. We will talk to the Department of
Is that all the
Environmental
same
Conservation.
Yeah.
It's multiple
Yeah.
copies?
And we'll get copies of all this,
The comp
his
and the
permits,
liability.
and we'll review them, and then we'll
For
we'll
Woody, the
move
guy that had
from there.
licensed.
to determine how we can reach.
This is other than that.
Is that the Act 250?
Land use.
Now, where's the part about the blasting? Right here?
So are these copies for us to keep?
You can.
Because I see there are 6 of them, so, okay.
Does it specify how you're supposed to be notified?
Except by mail. 1 week before. There's the right determinant.
I guess there's one copy.
Is that something the quarries have to do as well, or is that different? Is that a different permit?
They always blow the horn.
Yep.
Blew a horn.
That's what he does. Blows the horn.
So that's the blasting.
Okay, so I'm thinking that we have to set some time aside where we can meet and review this all independently, you know, as a group, so that we don't,
And we need to talk with the state and find out,
right,
you know, what needs to happen to bring him into compliance if he's not in compliance or not compliant.
right.
Rob Lee Farm is not in compliance either.
What's that?
Rob Lee Farm Incorporated, the owner of the pit, is not in compliance. They're under their 3rd review. Would you like to see what was submitted back in 2016, 2017? Especially page 8, which ties right into today, what's taking place. All right, refers to the Town of Pawlet Planning Commission criteria. I've been dealing with this for 5 years. I know everybody at Act 250. I know this permit better than the Masons do, than Chet does, or Act 250. So ask away.
So if I may, what's your goal with the pit? What do you want to see
My
happen?
goal is to have first of all, is to have the conditional use permit enforced. Their 2006 permit has a variance in it, alleviating Rob Lee Farms from the 200-foot setback from the Sheldon pit from Kelly Hill Road only. They encroached onto my property. Went through the setback that was established by the Stantec drawings. That is part of the Act 250-1/2 permit. And encroached into my property, which the map is hanging in the office that shows the coordinates in my corner. It's a 200-foot setback, according to the conditional use permit. So let them put it back. Maybe start with a daily fine until they do. They've also encroached on my neighboring property, the neighbors, Ed Evans. I don't know if he's here tonight or not. Here. All right. And the 200-foot setback also means they encroached onto the quarry's property. Not encroached, excuse me. Violated the conditional use permit. Now, if the second permit that was issued, which is in question whether it exists or not, the 2008-01, which was never published in the annual report, that zoning administrator Rosenthal could not find or produce, that another neighbor on Kelly Hill Road, I don't know if he's here or not, requested the same thing from Eric Mack several years ago. He could not produce it. He's the one who signed it fraudulently. He's not authorized to sign a conditional use permit without going through what was then the ZBA and hold a hearing. This is nonsense. 200 feet
200 feet from the property
from
line.
the property line is the conditional use setback. Violated 3 different property owners. I never received the letter that they were going to blast either. I'm the closest property owner. What if I was walking in the woods that day? Taking a look at where they're not supposed to be working. Act 250 has shut them down several times already to make corrections. They're under review right now. It's taken them so long because there's so many layers of violations of violations. They're working on the AODs right now. Allison Stone, Greg Bulbo, Aaron Brondike, Michael Stickney. I know them all. You want photos? I have probably 300-400 of them. You
I want
some
to talk to the,
violations?
I want to talk to the inspector. I want to talk to the guy that's in charge of Act 250. This is what I'd like to talk
It's an
to.
enforcement officer. Inspector was who you spoke to about the 60-ton truck on a 12-ton posted road, Inspector Jeff White. Which did damage the culvert, by the way, Mr. Beecher.
Yeah, and you know what? The Masons own that. They own both sides of the road. The town has a right-of-way through their property.
Okay.
They can cross that road if they want to.
Did not know that. Thank you for the information. With a 60-ton truck.
Or a 100-ton truck, whatever.
I'd like to know where that comes from, because I've looked for information on that. According to
I'll get it for you.
I would appreciate that greatly, Mr. Hewlett.
So I think we have our work cut out for us to gather more information so we know how to proceed from all of your concerns and all the information that you've brought to us.
You've only got a tenth of what I brought with me tonight. So if you're gonna set aside some time, you better make it like a half a day. I'm serious. It'll take that long to cover the violations that are in place right now.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Ed Evans, 772 Kelly Hill Road. This is our first town hall meeting. Hey, everybody. You know, I love the question about what's the goal. You know, business is business, and we've got to maintain the economy and jobs and revenue and things like that. But it kind of aligns with when we first walked in here, you folks were talking about radar signs for speed limit. And I'd say it's probably the same goal. It's just that I think we just want folks to be in compliance with laws and rules and standards and ethical behaviors. I mean, that's all, you know, we're kind of looking for here. So I don't have a goal to shut anybody down or write them up or fine them $5 million or see them in court or anything. I just love to see folks slow down coming down that road. And, you know, I'd love to be notified before my foundation shakes off its ground, before a blast, you know. And Deb and I are both from New Mexico, so, you know, we're used to mining and blasting and drilling, and that's nothing new to us. But I'd say the goal aligns with what's the goal of the radar speed signs. It's just to get folks into compliance so people can kind of go back to their normal day. Sorry.
Thank you. Frank?
Could I make a suggestion? Because due to open meeting law, you can't just get together any time and do this. Sure, you can. So if you appointed 2 people to have an ongoing conversation with all the parties involved, including the state, Act 250 folks, then you can cover your bases, have your 2 most interested and knowledgeable people on the board becoming point people to go out and do this and work it out. Okay?
Thank you.
Mike, I do have a question. I guess because I'm new on the select board, and it sounds like this is something that has this come before the select board before?
Mike has brought up some issues last year. And that was
Because
about the first that I've heard.
Because he referred to several different permits. And I mean, this is of a special interest to me because I'm also on the planning commission right now. There being a 2006 and a 2008 permit, would it be all right if he would just sort of give an overview of what those two permits were? Or if you know?
I think they were conditional use permits for the gravel pit operation is what they were.
What zone is the gravel pit operation? Is it an industrial?
No,
What's the zone?
rural agricultural.
ARR? Okay.
That's why you need the conditional use permit.
So, yeah, so gravel pit, yeah, it would have been conditional use. And so there is a permit from 2006 that has been found and exists, and there's one from 2008 that has not been found?
I have not seen the signed approved permit for 2006, but it says it exists because it's published in the annual report, and it's listed as number 5 or 6, I can't remember right now.
And for the 2008 permit, there's no sign nor anything of it?
There's a lot of dark areas, let's put it that way. The zoning administrator in 2008, Eric Mack, did not have the authority to solely sign a conditional use permit without having it been warned and have a meeting and go before what would have been the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Adjustment at the time, which would have included 2 select board members, 2 planning commission members, and the zoning administrator. Didn't happen.
Thank you, that answers my question. I took
You're all
notes on
set on
that.
that.
The second permit had to be taken out specifically because of the blasting in the feedlot, which they're complaining about. As well as revised erosion control and sedimentation plans and a much more stringent control overall of the entire 300-acre tract. Didn't happen. That's why they're here.
Mike, if we're going to look into this, can we request to get all of this information sent to us digitally so that we can look
Sure.
at it? Because I see there's a
Right.
document there and I see a folder of documents.
Yeah, they're my documents, so I can, if you want to make,
So we
I'll
need
make
to pick,
copies.
like Frank says, we need to pick 2 people that want to, that have the time and can dig into this to get communications from all sides. We have several people, you know, we have the information that they bring, they need to talk to Jonas, and they need to talk to Act 250, and this gentleman here that wrote this report.
I mean, I'd like to, just because, again, not being on the planning commission, and I have a good working relationship with Jonas. I talk to him frequently. So I
Okay.
think I'm well placed to do that bit of it. I don't have any, I don't have any connections with Act 250 folks.
All right. Rich, you have some information, you have had some contact and a little bit more information on this situation than anyone else. Are you willing to be the other point person, or? Do you
I
have-
talked with VLCT briefly yesterday. Yeah, I can jump on board.
This is a make the new people do it thing, Rich, I think. No, we volunteer. That's
Okay,
fine.
so,
Well, ultimately, I would like to see them happy. I'd like to see Chet continue in business. I'd like to see that farm prosper, you know, the resource that we all desperately need.
Yeah, we're not trying to like shut anybody down. It's just,
Yeah.
we just want to be in compliance, is all we're asking, to do the right thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, I think that that's a
Everybody
goal
else.
that's,
I'm not looking to shut anybody down. I just want it taken care of right. We all got things we gotta live inside. I mean, you know, with all your truck and stuff, I'm an electrician, we all got things we gotta do right. Sometimes people lose their way, I guess.
well, let's get it ironed out.
okay. All right, is there any more discussion on this topic?
Can I have my copy back, please? Unless you wanted to get into everything else, I wanted to go over. You can call it quits and do it. Do it during the 2-on-2 or whatever it is, might be more productive than spending this time here right now.
Well, it certainly will be a developing process, and I don't know that we'll be able to iron it out in one meeting. But as you bring concerns, we'll work through them and
Okay?
continue until everybody has reached a place where it can all work.
One last thing I'd like to add to this, which does irritate me, is that their lack of compliance, and I think Mr. Hewlett would understand this quite well, allows them to make materials cheaper, because it costs money to be in compliance. And you have this town and other neighboring towns using taxpayer dollars to buy material from this pit. That just does not seem right to me. I don't know if anybody else agrees or disagrees, but if you're going to be buying materials with taxpayer dollars from a pit that has been out of compliance for over 5 years and has had multiple issues, one of the biggest fines in Act 250 history in the early days, why are we buying material from them? Because it's 50 cents a yard cheaper? If you didn't have to check your air brakes all the time and you can go down the road with less than the amount of rubber on the tires, you can make more money. It's the same in farming, construction, whatever you're doing. Compliance costs money. It's not fair to the taxpayer.
I think we need to determine if he is out of compliance first and where he's out of compliance.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can wait a couple weeks and you can study it, but when I hear about land being built and you gotta sit there and debate it, and I know it's not an easy solution. I feel for you. I'm a neighbor too. But really, it's unapologetic, and I can't believe you have to study it. But go ahead and study. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on this topic? Okay, thank you all. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Please stay for the rest of the meeting.
Is the meeting of the individuals involved, is that going to be 2 weeks from now also, or how is that going to be?
The two people on a select board can meet without any public notice, and it doesn't have to be public.
All right.
So yeah,
But it doesn't constitute a quorum. So they'll work together, and then they'll bring their findings of fact back to the next regular.
One of you two will get a hold of me when you want to do this thing.
I'll have to get your phone number.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
You have email addresses too?
I'll pass their emails along
Pass the
too.
email on, that'll be great.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to mention, Mike, that all of our emails are on the town website. So you can contact any select board member that you want to ever directly, or call it selectboard@gmail.com, gets to all of us through Kristen.
Announcements? Nothing tonight. Reports. Did we get anything from the zoning administrator?
Nothing official to report tonight.
Okay. Planning commission.
No meeting in the
No
last 2
meeting.
weeks.
Okay. Road foreman. You had a little bit of conversation with Keith?
Yeah, I did, and maybe this is something we can move over.
And everything seems to be, he
Oh,
seems
yeah,
to be
yeah.
progressing
Yeah,
well and...
Yeah, with Keith, everything's going as well as expected. I just talked with Marley today and had a bunch of questions for him that he wanted me to... He was asking for questions, so she'd put the phone up to his ear and I'd ask him questions and he'd write down the answers, so... Yeah, he's coming along.
That's good.
Hopefully, if all goes well, he'll be home within the next couple of weeks. So.
And you said you texted him a little bit too? So, okay, so he's answering text messages, so probably it'd be all right if we
And I think he's anxious to get out. So that's a good sign.
Okay.
So yeah, I talked with him about winter sand and prices and different options. I spent some time on the phone the last couple of days. I called SLC, I called Joint Galusha, and of course we had the price for winter sand from Stan Martell.
The joint Galusha prices, is that the contract price that we're getting for the town?
That is right there.
That is for the town, okay.
Yeah, and that's a per ton price.
Okay.
And that's what it would be per yard.
Okay.
Broke down at 100 or 1.24 tons per yard.
Because I know that Keith had told us that we were able to get New York State discount as opposed to regular.
Yeah, they said it was the county price.
County price, right, okay.
And with SLC, that's the price. Joyna did not have any 3/4 with 1/2 inch and 3/8. They had 3/4 or 1 inch or 1/2 inch or 3/8. And they were significantly higher than SLC. And I had talked with Jimmy Hughes, he's the road foreman down in Dorset, and they use the 3/4 stone with no salt on all their dirt roads. And they're thrilled with it. It's a crushed stone. It's really aggressive, good traction, and it's good for the roads. You know, it builds the roads up. So what we had discussed, what I discussed with Keith is saving the sand that we have and just use it on the asphalt, which if it's a little bit silty, it's not going to bother on the asphalt, and it's got some salt in it. They mix that with salt. And use all this 3/4 drainage from SLC for $9.90 a ton, which is a good price on all the dirt roads. And we've got enough sand left in inventory at both locations where we wouldn't need to buy any sand. And if we just bought stone for the dirt roads, we'd need, 50 to 60 loads, probably between 15 and 18 ton loads in West Pawlet and 75 loads of stone in Pawlet. And that would get us through the winter.
If I may, Mr. Hewitt?
Yep.
Art, so, I'm not trying to get into a tangent here or anything, but with all this weather going crazy like this, are we sure we got enough reserve sand, or do you need to maybe stockpile more?
Well, we're gonna so the plan is, in the past, of course, I just got on the board, but I've seen what goes on. We've always used sand on the dirt roads and on the asphalt.
Yeah, it never made sense to me, but...
So the plan is, we've still got a pretty good inventory of sand at both locations, Pawlet and West Pawlet. So we want to make the change to use stone, crushed 3/4 stone on the dirt. So if we just buy stone and put a separate pile of stone in Pawlet and a separate pile of stone in West Pawlet and use that unsalted on the dirt roads, and then just use the sand that we have in inventory on the asphalt.
So you got built-in reserve right there.
We've got plenty of sand left over from last year.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep, no, that's fine.
And Keith likes this idea?
Yeah, I talked with him about it today. He thinks it's a fine idea.
Over the last couple of years, we've been adding some 3/4 stone to the sand that we have in West Pawlet, and we've been seeing better results. One of the best things with the 3/4 stone is in a freezing rain event, if you put sand on, it's so small.
Oh, yeah.
It's covered within a matter of minutes. Where you have a 3/4 inch stone, at least you got those nubs that you can catch on a dirt road that will last, quite often a few hours in a heavy freezing rain event. And the sand ends up breaking down the surface of the road. It deteriorates the road surface because it's too fine. So the heavier stone will pack into the roads. If you've ever driven on the Dorset roads in early spring, it's a huge difference on the dirt roads to go from them. Even Rupert uses a very coarse sand, and if you go from the Dorset, like some of the roads that Dorset and Rupert both maintain, you can go from one to the other, you can notice that the top is much slimier.
See, I always thought the Dorset roads were good because they had lots and lots of money. But as it turns out, this isn't very expensive.
Yeah, it's actually less than the sand that we got, other than we've got to truck it a little bit further. But it's so much more valuable to put that on the dirt roads.
Yeah.
Because of the long-term advantages.
And possibly we're gonna use less of it as well.
Right.
So, I guess I also talked with Perry today, and this is a project that he could get to work on right away. With Keith being laid up, those guys could start hauling the stone out of SLC if you're all in agreement and thinks it's a good idea or whatever the case may be. I think we should make a decision tonight which way we're gonna go so we can keep those guys headed in that direction. Getting this done while Keith is laid up. Be a good project for him.
I think, yeah, that'd be excellent use of their time.
I'll make that motion if we need a motion.
Polly will make that motion. Do you have a second?
What's the,
To buy all our winter material from SLC, the 3/4 stone at $9.90 a ton.
okay. Quarter,
Yeah, I'll second that.
$9.90 per ton. Do you want me to include those prices in the minutes?
Sure.
So $9.90.
Yep.
And just stone from them?
Yes. It's called 3/4 drainage.
3/4 drainage.
Are you gonna be trucking that in with a bigger truck or with the town truck?
With the town trucks.
Okay, thank you. So I got the mover was Bob.
And
I seconded.
Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Any more discussion? John?
There is, I'm in favor of the motion, but the stone on roads makes them noisier. My house is pretty close to the road, and I've noticed a big difference since I've been using the
That's
stone
over, yeah.
in the non-winter time. But when your windows are open,
Yeah.
it's noisier.
But it should be less dusty in the spring and
I think the dust control has been great. Of course, we've had a lot of rain, but I think they're putting the use of that new chloride or oxide or whatever they're using right after grading has helped a lot.
Yeah, from a citizen, I got a compliment for road crews.
Thank you.
Those guys doing, you guys are doing an awesome job.
Do you feel that it slowed the traffic down at all, John, or not?
No, I think since Rupert paved their end of the road, people are going
It's encouraged it.
50 by my house with a 30 mile an hour
Yeah.
posted. I'm glad I don't have a dog,
Yeah. I'm sure.
because I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's,
Route 30's claimed a lot of them over the years.
That's why my cats are indoor.
Yeah.
so any more, other than that comment, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Frank, you had a question, or?
I was gonna say we could put a speed sign up by John's place.
Oh, you asked about the
We've already
trucking.
got one for the turtles.
Take some
Turtles
speed
are
bumps.
already slow.
Okay.
Oh, is that where you live, up there by that turtle sign?
That's the turtle sign.
Okay, so what else we got, Rich?
So last week we had discussed that the tractor with the two mowers, the flail mower and the rotary mower. So here's the one from Capital Tractor with the rotary mower, which is, that would be more for mowing grass, and then there's a new 5-foot rotary that comes with it. And then I just had a couple comparisons. Here was a new machine with just one rotary mower. It doesn't have the flail mower, and that's how much that is new. We may be able to do a little on that price on the one that John is looking at. That one just has 1,500 hours. And here's a comparison. Basically the same tractor. It's got 2,700 hours as opposed to 1,500, and the mower's on the back, which is not nearly as desirable. Not as easy to operate.
it's also in Canada.
It's also in Canada. Yeah, but I tried to find comparables, and
But I'm just saying too, then you got $3 or $4 grand to get it here.
and this was just a tractor that I
Yeah, we
had
gotta deal with
found
getting it
without a
across the
mower, with way more hours, but same year, just so that we could see that, we weren't paying too much for one or the other.
Now, is the rear mounted allowed to use the tractor for other
No, it actually restricts it.
restrictions?
Yeah, like the first one there at Capitol, you've still got your drawbar, you've got your 3-point hitch, you've got your PTO shaft. So you could mow and you could put a blower on the back to blow all the debris, say if you're chipping wood
Okay.
or cutting the brush back, you could put a blower on the PTO and carry that with you. And when you're done, you could go back through and blow all that stuff right off the road, instead of having somebody standing out in the road, you know, sweeping the road off.
Now, Rupert did that, right?
Yeah, and they blew their ditches out too with
I can
them.
pass them down to Mike
Okay.
and Bob.
There's not a chipper on the back and if
You want to pass them down to
Yeah,
Mike and Bob?
yeah. And John, that's just a tractor, same year, way more hours, just to compare it to,
And those are clock hours? not-
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just running engine hours.
Really? Ivan's kid. Wow. Never saw that one.
This is just another thing in regards to
Okay.
the lot that the
Right.
town owns. And
So you don't have to worry about it.
on the auction, we need to know all the details of what we can and can't do.
So our biggest thing is, what do we have for money in the,
So I talked with Julie this week, and in the equipment fund, I didn't write the number down, but I believe it was 110 or 115 somewhere in that account. So there's plenty of money in the equipment account for this purchase, if that's what we decide we want to do. I do feel like this is probably the best deal that I have found, and it's close to home, low hours. Bob and I went and looked at the machine, operated it. You know, and there's nothing, the boom is all in good shape, not bent or cracked or sprung. The machine's in good shape.
It needs a rim, that's about it.
But those are some things that they have to do. There's still a couple things that we would need to iron out with them that it needs. But I'm sure that they're willing to do.
and the other- one thing I'm noticing right now is I had a little discussion with Dave Hosley, the guy that mows, and he said definitely to do what we want to do, we want an Alamo mower. So for what it's worth, he recommended an
Not a
Alamo.
land price.
Not a land price, because I asked him, I said, is that tractor ready for sale? And he said, you never know, kinda. But he said, and I said, is that gonna take 3-inch branches? And he laughed, and he says, if you want to trim back your brush alongside the road, you don't want a land pride mower, you want an Alamo. So that's, he says, these work perfect for mowing grass. The land pride, he says, but they don't want to mow.
So if we were to purchase it like soon, then we'd have it to use and we wouldn't have to pay for the falls mowing? Would that be the idea?
That would be also correct, yeah, we'd save us $5,000 right off the top.
Yeah.
Is the town contracted with Dave for this year?
I don't know if it's more than a verbal contract,
Okay.
honestly.
That just might be, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, but might just be one thing we want to double check.
So we may not be able to get out of it, but he may also say,
I think we could.
I think he's been eager to get out of
I
it,
think-
from what I can recall.
I
He
think
probably
that if-
wouldn't mind.
I'm pretty sure that if we told him, I'm just laughing, I'm getting too old for this, I'm 70-some years old and I can hardly get in a tractor anymore, you know, you'd have to know him because he rambles on a little, huh, John?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, you know, if we talk to him and say, hey, you know, we came across this tractor and we don't need you to mow, are you all right with that? I think he would probably be all right with that. Because I know we cut back a lot on what he did, so.
In the main booth?
So, isn't like equipment like that in high demand right now? I don't know where that's for sale, but I'm
imagine I would hang out there too long these days.
Yeah,
This option's in Greenwich, so it's,
Okay, great, that's good too. It's
Right.
close.
And also going into winter, when the guys are all set up and trucks are fueled and ready to go and they have nothing to plow or whatever, that's the perfect machine to go out and start cutting brush back.
once the leaves go down, you can mow all winter long with it. It's a cab, it's
It'll be
heated
brittle
cab,
when it's
so
cold too.
it's an excellent time to cut the roadsides,
And
the
that, yeah.
the overhang of the roadsides, not the
And
grass.
the topic of brush, you know, the need to tend to brush too, which is
huge.
not just on the ground, but higher up, was discussed last meeting.
Now, you've talked to Keith a little bit about this too, right? And he felt that that would be a good,
yeah, he was thrilled that we were gonna get 2 heads with it.
yeah.
So the nice thing about the flail head, that's more for mowing grass. It's, you know what a flail is, John, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to a rotary, it doesn't throw everything out into the road. It kind of just throws it right behind the mower.
So, I'll go do a little, a flail is a drum somewhere in this size, and it has like little forks that hang like a chain, so there's a whole bunch of individual little knives that whirl at a high speed, and it chops the grass up really fine, where the head that you would brush is like a great big heavy lawnmower head with 2 big huge thick blades that, and they tend to mash and knock over grass and stuff like that a little bit more. Don't do nowhere near aesthetically nice of a job.
And this comes with both.
This comes with both, right? It comes, the flail mower, the grass mower is on the tractor right now, and we'd be buying a brand new brush mower for it.
Yeah, this price comes with a brand-new rotary head with it. It asked them to look for a used, of course, they couldn't find one, but the rotary head is used. It came with the machine.
Cool. It sounds like, it sounds like it's a good idea. We have the opportunity, we have the capital to buy it.
There's still a few details to work out with them. I'm sure that I could talk with Kevin and say, hey, look, you know, we're leaning towards, you know, buying this, but this needs to be done and that needs to be done. There's still a few things that we need to come to terms on before we,
Okay.
but I think if I talk with them and say, hey, look, you know, I don't know how we're gonna determine that here tonight.
Could be a motion
We
with
can
a
just vote
pending.
on it and buy it tonight. We have that authority.
Yeah, we can
And then we
make
can
a
work the
motion saying,
details.
you know, if he gets the details done to the satisfaction.
Okay.
You know, you could
Yeah.
buy it.
To go ahead and
John?
We requested this was before Keith's problem, but I was interested to see how this purchase matches in with all our other horizons.
The long term?
Long term. I mean, I think there's every reason to purchase it. But I just like, now we'll have to wait till Keith is able to do that, I suppose.
I think, wait a minute a second. I know he did talk about numbers, about machines, but at this point, I think the wheel loader would be the next. I think that's got the most hours of anything on it time-wise. But there's a fine balance between upgrading and stuff, because the upgraded stuff has a great deal of electronics.
Right.
And they're really great when they run, and they're wicked expensive when they don't cooperate.
Right.
We know we're going to get into that, but to rush into that is, you know, we have a little bit of flexibility with our machines. They all have had recent maintenance and stuff to them, so I believe that we have that. But I think even though we need to get in that plan, I think that at this point this is something that we're in quite need of.
Yeah.
The brush, I think if even the brush alongside the road is a huge problem. The branches growing into the road. and this tractor will be able to start to work that back.
No, I think that's important, and I've also seen, as they've improved all the ditching and drainage on our roads, the roads have actually become narrower. You look at, my road has 3 wheel tracks. You fight for the middle one.
Yeah.
But like, you go down Herrick Brook right now, the new part, it's got 2. And people have to, and the same thing on Hosford Hill above Woods's. You improve the ditches, but you actually have less.
It shrunk the road surface.
It shrunk the width.
Oh, the more reason to keep the brush back, huh?
Yeah.
So, that's my pitch. That's why I'm in favor for it. Those issues. But Frank?
I had 2 thoughts. One,
No, we can't mow your lawn with it.
no, I don't want to, I gotta have more weed growing, sorry.
Okay.
So, but the, A is, if Hasley's getting out, and he wants to sell his rig, that's another option. But B, if this option is available, then you can make a motion conditioned on certain circumstances being met that you were concerned about, and do that right now.
Hasley said his rig isn't what we want.
Okay.
But I think that we could make the motion right now, contingent on Richie being able to negotiate those few miscellaneous little items that you wanted to.
I think we need a full sheet, you know,
Breakdown.
breakdown. I mean, I think the taxpayers deserve that.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he can negotiate a deal with them and show up with something that we could agree on. The tractor's in good shape. There's never been anything hitched to the back of it. The original paint's still on the drawbar. The 3-point hitch arms are rusted. The balls are rusted, right? Because they've never been used and stuff. So and it is a pre-emissions tractor.
That's important.
Which, honestly, it will eliminate a whole lot of headaches, very expensive headaches. So, and I don't think there's a lot around it's got the right setup. That Alamo mower is a real nice mid-mount.
115?
115, yeah.
It's a good heavy tractor. I saw today the John Deere's that the state was using with the Alamo mowers, and they're not anywhere near as big a tractor as that, and they had their hands full. The guy was trying to, he was rocking right around in the seat trying to maneuver it because they're not as heavy of a tractor as that.
I've had Ford pull me out of the market.
Because Dave was saying about, excuse me, go ahead, John.
No, I was just commenting.
I think it's a nice setup.
I was just discussing the transmission with Rich because Dave was telling me a whole bunch of stuff when we were talking about his tractor is a little bit nicer, and he told me that when he bought just a tractor, it was like 110 or 112 when he bought his tractor of a comparable horsepower.
So is what I'm hearing from John and Bob then, that we want to negotiate on it and get the whole details before we vote next time?
That's what you'd like to see, John?
I mean, is that what?
I think it's important for this big a project rather than just...
And I think I can get Kevin comfortable enough, to where because they'd like to advertise it, and I've held them off,
Having a blue tractor on the road, it's good business.
Paint it green, it'll run better.
So we can, basically right now, it's the consensus of the board for Richie to work, to tell them that we're very much interested in it, and to have a detailed description of the tractor and the price and everything that they're gonna do for the next meeting. Okay. You good with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
It got weights.
Yeah, the thing is
Got plenty of weight.
very, very well weighted down. Of course, you don't see the other side of the tractor, but
The offside.
Yeah, it is extremely stable and very wide. So, yeah, you can take that boom, when I was operating it, put it out 22 feet and shake it, and the thing's barely moves.
Good.
So,
And in case you get bored, John, too, you know, let's pick up a few hours maybe.
I do enough roads, yes.
You're quite satisfied, huh? Is there anything on the road foreman's report?
I think the only other thing we might be able to add to the roads report is the location of the radar speed signs. Just
Right, we need to pick them and see if maybe,
for the, and I only bring that up, I mean, just to get them up,
I think
and
they should be up.
it could be
Yeah, I think
another
they should be
good
up.
project for the roads crew.
I think the two
You know,
guys could
they
certainly
could
handle
probably-
that, getting those up, so.
That could be a fun task to occupy some of their time.
And I think that 2 weeks ago, we were talking about, since we have two of them right now, putting one here on 30 somewhere and putting one in West Pawlet, where those trucks come in so fast.
So where would be the,
The trucks, did you say?
Yeah,
I think it's more like motorcycles and little cars that go by my house flying.
I don't know. All I remember is last year someone was complaining about a lot of New York State pickup trucks.
yeah,
Coming in real
coming in
fast.
and going up Schoolhouse Hill in the
Yep.
village of West Pawlet.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we could put one in that area.
And I think that it is important that one goes, I'm not sure where Jennifer Sullivan lives, but
That's where Jennifer Sullivan.
that's where you're
Yeah.
talking about? Okay, just because she's been, you know, she had kind of played a big role in keep continuing to keep this topic on the
Which would be somewhere,
so-
somewhere in the strip between the monument and the United Methodist Church there,
Okay.
headed up the hill in
in West Pawlet.
West Pawlet.
Yeah.
And here on 30, which side do they come in faster from?
Well, so I'm right up by Sheldon's, and I mean, it's amazing. I could swear that people decide to speed up right in front. I don't know if it's just
Coming into town or
coming into
leaving
town. It's, for whatever reason, it's that downgrade between, I think everybody's kind of cruising out. I mean, it's fast. I think both ways, but my personal observation is coming into town. And maybe sometimes I take a left out of my driveway and, like, you know, you go to accelerate and you don't realize that you're kind of just cruising. But, so I personally feel like maybe coming into town would be good because it's around that sharp bend, and I don't know, that's where the speed study is, so I don't know if that is, you know, doing doubled time, or if that would help, or I also know that right by the Mac farm, there have been a couple of fatal accidents right there due to speed and loss of control, so that could be, I know that would be a beneficial location somewhere around the barn.
Keep them moving. They're
Yeah, I mean,
portable, so
yeah, I think it doesn't,
a week here and a week there would be great.
I don't know how much fun it'll be to move them
We'll have to
week
determine.
to week. I mean, I think experiencing when they do it the first time, they'll be able to determine just how, you know,
Right.
mobile they are.
Since you budgeted for this extra 2 additional units, why don't you move on the nose and get the same exact one so you have 4 with interchangeable parts if you needed to swap things around?
No,
think
no, we need to wait till
to
the
put
money
them up
rolls through.
first.
It's
Yeah.
till after tax time and stuff like that. It's not,
Julian, you can go ahead.
right. So I would say that I guess talk to the road crew and say somewhere coming into the West Pawlet Village that way. It's kind of hard to say. There's never really the right place to put them, but
And also, I mean.
maybe like somewhere in that stretch by Sheldon's headed down into
Yeah,
Pawlet Village.
and
seems-
just thinking,
seems ragged.
again, it's one of those things where it's like you want something and then you don't love it, but maybe somewhere that's not facing somebody's window, so that when you're trying to sleep at night, you don't have like, slow down, you know, flashing
Bunch of
into your.
sad faces.
Sad face.
Yeah.
You're seeing sad faces in your dreams. So, yeah, I think somewhere.
Somebody want to talk to the road crew and get some opinions on that and see if we could, John,
I'll stop. Perry's by himself this week, I guess.
Maybe next week we can see, you know, if they can fit it in between Holland and
I don't
stuff.
know
Just
when-
start thinking about it, and
Yep.
so that we're actively coming up with a plan. That would be
Yep.
great.
People will see those signs up and know that we did something. That's always
Right.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feels good.
That would be good.
Maybe people will slow down. That would be great.
That's the point, that's the
That's the
goal.
goal.
Yeah, that would be
At
the
least
goal.
they work on me.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But yeah, when I go to Rutland, there's one, and I always slow down when I see it. I'm like, oh, yep.
And
I
the
think-
thing never stops blinking until you're at the speed limit.
And the only other thing that
Oh,
the
right
board,
there in West Rutland.
yeah, the board might like to determine is that these do have the option to program a message. I don't know if it's a requirement to program a message into it, but if it is, that just might be something that I think you could just say.
Let's get them up first, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but if that's an option, that just might be something that, not saying that we need to come up with something creative, but if it's a requirement, I think just, I mean, Manchester
yeah.
had Naughty and Nice around the holidays, which I just thought was great, but that's also just me, so maybe not everybody else
Could have
feels
a
that.
contest.
Seem very
We can,
appropriate, yeah.
that can be another one of our,
What'd be interesting is if you could program yield into it with the speed, that would go good right in front of the monument over in West Pod.
double time.
Yield going on at 153 on both sides.
Okay, so does anybody else have anything under the road? This topic came up, and I think it's kind of tied in with the road maintenance.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
for coming.
You bet.
Come back again.
You bet. Get better.
I got an email from Maureen Brown, and she'd been reaching out to Keith, but she wasn't aware of the circumstances, so she passed it along to me. She was asking me about a water issue that comes behind her house. There's a lot of flooding, and as a kid, there was always a drain through there, a low ditch through there, and through time people have filled it up, and that's what I explained to her, that it was always something that was not town owned or maintained, it was owned by the landowners. And later it occurred to me that at this point we do have an option to do something about it, because where the water originates is that stream by Marion Jones's. It's coming, there's a huge, out to the east of Spruce Gum, that row of houses where Maureen lives, there's a huge big swamp, the base of Hemlock, and it drains down through that little ditch that goes on the edge of the property that we just acquired, and through that box culvert across the road. And if my memory serves me right, in the past, when we've had substantial rain, it breaches that little ditch and jumps over way back at the back part of that property, and it continues down through Brannigan's backyard, through Eugene, or his name, Lance Brenton's garage, into Maureen's house, and then it backs up in Maureen's backyard to about this far from her power box. It usually stops just about that far. That history is, we've pumped that cellar so many times. History showed that it's about that far from the power box it stops. Goes around Chuck's garage, and then it goes into the rest of the open ditch that went down by my old house. And it goes into New Culvert, and ends up, when they changed the road, they put New Culvert in the 70s, and it goes in down by the town barn and goes out. But I think that before we do anything with that property, we need to assess that stream bed channel there, and see that if we can open up, or just at least get in there and maintain it, so that it's no longer allowed to breach. It has to stay in the channel and going through that box culvert, and keep some kind of easement on that property, so that we'll be able to cross that property to maintain that ditch. Could be very beneficial. You've seen it.
Oh, yeah. No, it went
And
down.
it way in the backyard of that lot there.
Chuck had to keep his driveway down behind his garage so that it didn't dam up and
Right.
flood his garage,
It
so.
circled around behind Chuck's garage, and
Past Jim Reed's and down to your place and.
Frank?
being we try to limit it in dealing with a lot of the stream issues, when in certain sizes of streams or waterways, there's a permit process to go.
Right, we would definitely talk to Josh
And there might be a
Carvajal.
grant available because that water ends up flowing into Lake Champlain, and you're very sensitive about nutrient flow into Lake Champlain. So an improvement there might be something that there's some money for.
Also, stormwater runoff is a permitted ARPA fund use.
Okay.
So yeah, anything that has to do with the stormwater runoff and where it goes, like culverts and stuff, that is a use we can do.
So that's something I don't know who could, I guess probably the first step would be to get Josh Carvajal to talk to him about going in there. He's the stream management guy, and I've met with him a few times. He seems very, very good guy, easy to work with and stuff. So, anybody's interested, or I can call him and try and arrange to meet him there someday and let somebody else know. Two of us could meet him there and look that situation over and see if, you know, see what could be done. So I'll reach out to him if everybody's okay with that.
Sounds good.
We'll work on this project and see if we can come to some beneficial, like I say, if we can maintain some type of easement to just cross that property to maintain that ditch. That's why we could never do anything before, is because there was no access. So, okay.
As that whole thing ends up flowing down behind Bliscoe's old place there, right?
No. Oh yeah, that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes over to Bob's.
It might be that if that flushed a little quicker, you wouldn't have as much backup.
We'll find out when we talk to him.
Yes, but I would say, yeah.
I think that's all. That was the only thing I had. And we're good on road work? Assessors?
So one thing from the assessor's office, there was an errors and omissions report that came through last week, and I should have forwarded it to you. I think I did. And
We need to sign it, right?
yes, it requires a signature. It's just one edit to the, or two edits to the grand list.
The error and omissions, John, is when something either didn't get added correctly or numbers were off or something.
Yes,
These
Some type of
appear-
clerical type stuff, right?
Yeah, this one
Yes.
appears to be, it's a name change is one of them. It looks like it went from having not a name to somebody put a property, a parcel under a trust. And the other one, it looks like perhaps a property was subdivided, and so the property value changed due to a subdivision.
I think we need to,
I think there needs to be a motion.
yeah, so I was
to
just gonna
sign
say.
that.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, the
John,
first,
do you wanna-
John and Sarah,
oh,
they signed it first, so.
Jessica.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was 3 members ago, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, I know her.
John and Sarah, it just rolls off the tongue.
Yes, I seconded it.
So.
Thank you.
All in favor of signing the errors and omissions?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I think that was all from the assessors.
we do have the PCA hearing on 3 properties next Monday. The selectmen there. We need a quorum.
6 o'clock, right?
I have it on my calendar, so I don't remember the time, but it's written there.
6 o'clock, I believe, on the Monday the 15th.
And we have
3 cases.
3 cases, and we have
Here it is signed.
Yes, thank you.
Merrill, Deb Hawkins invited Merrill to attend, and she can, our lawyer. And I haven't seen whether she has gotten a response. She requested that Dave Record come too.
Yeah. So. Okay. Anything else? We can move on to
The clerk's memo. Would you like me to share the clerk's memo with you?
Please.
Okay. So reminder that there is a Board of Civil Authority hearing next Monday, the 16th. Masks are required for this meeting. The roof has been repaired. The town hall roof has been repaired. There's been some changes in election laws that affect our elections going forward. In a nutshell, many of the procedures and protocols approved by the state for last year have been incorporated into election law permanently. The most significant change is the 100% mailing by the state of general election ballots. The select board in each town can make the determination for implementing the same for local elections. I would not support this as it would be a significant expense to the town for a much smaller voter turnout than federal elections. The other changes we will be addressing leading up to the midterm election. I don't think anything needs to be done on that tonight. In preparation for the midterm, the Elections Division has charged all towns in the state to perform assigned maintenance on the voter checklists. Mostly this means merging DMV information into the voter record and tracking down missing information from the voter record, such as dates of birth, driver's license numbers, and the last 4 digits of social security numbers. In most cases, this pertains to voters who registered many years ago prior to the Help America Vote Act. The front and sides of the building need a good cleaning. I'm not sure who does that, but that could be something to think about.
Oh, I think that Sue contacted me about that and said she was going to get a quote from the power washers.
Cool. And lastly, we have been seeing information with regard to a dental clinic in the town hall on Wednesday, 8/25 at 4 p.m. We were not aware of this and wondering if this has been approved by the board. If so, is someone prepared to provide entry? I did not reply, but that was in the minutes, and you all did approve that at the last meeting, and so it's a Bob Morlino thing.
Yeah.
I can check with him.
Hopefully he can provide entry.
I know that the fire department Bob Morlino's on the fire department. I know that they have the ability to enter the building, so I'm not available at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm in Manchester then, so if he does need it, I can always coordinate with somebody to hand off my key, but I'll check in with Bob. And so that's all from Deb. Do you want me to move on?
Questions? Move right on to.
Okay. So, a quick treasurer's memo. There are 2 warrants this week. The payroll for this period was $8,635.93. Accounts payable was $22,483.77. General fund monies $14,452.69. Highway $14,077.51. Wastewater $2,589.50. We received another round of homestead state payment for $245, and we received the first ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds of $71,763.45. We are required to create a separate fund for the ARPA monies, but not a separate bank account. I have set up the fund, and the money is held in the general fund money market bank account. Respectfully submitted, Julie Mack.
Everybody have a chance to look at the warrants?
I did.
Is everybody okay with the warrants?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the warrants.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the warrants?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. So, I need to backtrack for 1
We gotta
second.
sign them, yeah.
I did put a talk to Skip. John. I did talk to Skip Wilson and Rupert.
I saw that.
Okay, and he is willing to fill in for us on an as-call basis. And he said just let him know if you run into trouble or need him. He's always worked well with us, and he would do what he could do to help us through in Keith's absence. So
Great.
he told me a number that he would want as, you know, part-time, temporary, and stuff like that, and I'll share that with an email. I meant to get it out in an email earlier, so. Just so we all know, it seems reasonable to me for his experience level, so.
Great.
Jessica Skip is a retired
Yeah, I think we
road.
talked about him last
Right,
meeting.
yeah.
That he might come and help out in
Yeah,
Pete's
he
absence.
said he would certainly do what he could do to come in and fill in as necessary as
Great.
needed and stuff, and just be on call, so, that was good to know for a backup plan. Frank?
Would he put on the payroll as an employee and have all that insurance, or would he be just a contractor?
No, he would be put on the payroll as part-time temporary
Okay.
and have no benefits.
Temporary classification usually is a friendlier classification for short-term, requiring less. And I have nothing from the wastewater treatment facility.
And emergency management?
Oh, hello, sorry. Just buzzing right along. I did receive an email from Bob, and when I went through before the meeting tonight to open up all of my memos to get myself organized, it was the memo from June. So I reached out to ask if he had one for July, and I had not heard back from him, probably because of the short notice. So I will forward that along to you. Nothing to report, but a friendly reminder that on, thank you, on the 25th, there's that dental event in the town hall. And from the health officer, Jennifer Sullivan submitted a report that there was one rental property inspection on the Rupert Mountain Road that she did with you. Was it with you, Bob? Or it must have been Bob Merlino. She said with Bob. So I thought maybe you got your hands right in there. And she did also put a state bulletin regarding increased tick-borne diseases in Vermont onto the Front Porch Forum. So she said she wasn't sure if that pertained to her report, but she wanted to share it anyway. So she's also very excited for us to get to the hybrid meeting model, and we'll look forward to attending when we get there.
Super. Wastewater treatment, there was some emails today about some new testing, I think. And I didn't really get time to look them over. Jill sent them to Rich and me, but...
I've been bumped. I'm just kidding.
She went
Got some stuff to add, hopefully help with the wastewater stuff. You guys want to listen for a sec?
Sure.
I talked to Lynette Claudin from Clean Water State Revolving Fund today, and there are some funds through them that could be available to us to do some studies on the plant to see if it can be run more efficiently. She also gave me, there's some grants through the USDA search grants. These are very competitive grants, and there are only a few of them, but there are grants there that could be used for that. Also, this ARPA fund that you guys are just talking about, we can use that for that as well. That's about it. Lynette Claudon is her name. She's with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Tom Brown.
Tom Brown, okay. That's the name that we've worked with. Right now, we're actually in a process with an engineering outfit. They have evaluated it, and they feel that one of our options to make a more efficient plant would be sludge settling.
Okay.
So, I believe
Which is going to mean what? Like not running it for a time?
No, it would mean that we would, right now, we just kind of recirculate all the heavies and then eventually suck it off the bottom of the tanks. And what we'd need to do is convert one tank to just a sludge holding tank and just decant the water off it. Instead of trying to recirculate it through, it leads to some issues down the track, right? As a very quick synopsis about it. But
And that study was done. The plant is set up so it's pretty much in two halves, so you can run one day and one the next, or I think that was originally how it was set up. So now we're just using one side of that plant. So you've got your initial tank, which your solids go into initially, and then there's another settling tank, and then your liquids. So you got three separate tanks there. And your liquids, that's what goes upstairs and goes through your clarifiers. But the sludge from the clarifiers that's being pumped upstairs and gets separated out is continually being pumped down into the second tank. so that we're using, so it's constantly stirring everything up, and it's just not a good setup at all. So the plan was, let's see if we can take and build a holding tank on the other side and take that sludge from the clarifiers and pump it in over here, so it's not continually stirring up this side that we're using. And so they did a quick little study on it and determined that the walls are not strong enough to be able to use that as a tank. So now we're back to square one, where I think there's some opportunities where we could use that whole entire system, slow everything down instead of, and do something with that sludge from the clarifiers. I think it needs to come back to the head of the plant, the very beginning, instead of the middle of it, because it's stirring everything up, and then we're pumping it right back upstairs again. I think there's some opportunities there
We probably need to go back at that a little bit. We haven't really looked at any real resources now that we know that we can't just easily convert that one tank.
Yeah,
It'd be like a $200,000, they figured at least a $200,000 project.
We can't go further into debt with that system.
Exactly, that's where we're at now, and even if we could get even 75% of the funds, it still adds a huge amount of money that the user fee would have to absorb. That's just not profitable.
And it's not that the plant isn't passing, because it is passing all the tests. There's a lot of solids that are getting pumped upstairs, and that's because everything's constantly being riled up. It needs to settle. There's aerators also in the liquid part, and those aerators, in my mind, should be running at night when there's no flow and we're not pumping. You should not be running those aerators and pumping at the same time. And I think if we used both sides of that system, which I'd like to talk to an engineer, and slow everything down, there'd be less solids going upstairs. And then take the solids that do end up in the clarifier and bring them back to the head of the plant, don't put it in the middle.
So the goal of that would be, is it going to make the plant run on less energy or less
there would be less flock being pumped upstairs. So what happens is, with that flock, it coats the lights that kill the bugs before it goes to the river, and that's the issue. That's why somebody needs to be there.
Labor intensive to keep our output at the right UV, the UV's performing correctly to keep
being enlightened about all this stuff and trying to learn, so thank you.
Efficient at all.
Right.
It's a lot.
It just makes it much more labor intensive to be chasing all that flock around in the...
Where if that flock wasn't plugging those lights up, you wouldn't need somebody there every day.
Got it.
You could have somebody come pump every third day, possibly.
I think not, unfortunately.
What's that with the pump?
You have to have somebody come every day, according to our discharge permit.
Oh, right, but that was something that we could look into, right?
Well...
That was what Keith mentioned.
And the alarms and stuff.
I don't know where we could get with that, because that turns into a state permitted issue and stuff. So that's a very big can of worms that we haven't really opened up yet.
Right, but the thing is, the pumps are just running non-stop to try to clear the fluid, the liquids, and for no reason, because they just keep stirring it up.
Yeah. I think the best thing, probably what we need to do, is we'll work with Jill and we can get Jenny Oster is the engineer that we've hired to look up this sludge holding option, so that we could get her back, so you could talk to her and understand more. And I could learn more.
The last conversation I had with her when one of the pumps was down was trying to go back to using the entire system again. Both sides of it.
Yeah.
That was the last conversation I had with her. That was after the determination was done that we couldn't use that one tank as a sludge holding tank.
Right, okay. So we need to go back and have another...
But it's not that it's not working.
Right, it's just, we're trying to make it work more efficiently without, and try and figure out some way that we can reduce costs for certain.
Well, I have some other ideas, but I don't know if it's gonna lead in. I talked to Jessica.
We got that in new business to talk about that, grant opportunity.
Okay. But I do appreciate you looking into it and working through.
I'm happy. I want to change the direction of that bill for everybody. I'm gonna do it.
older
Actually-
unfinished business.
If you don't mind backtracking, I just heard from Bob Morlino,
Yeah.
his report. So real quick, an EOC review was conducted on July 29th at the Meadowy School, and the radio systems were checked and the local emergency operations plan was reviewed. Also, as a result of heavy rains on July 29th, the culvert across from the Pawlet firehouse backed up, causing some minor flooding of a resident's property. Photos were taken and sent to the V-Trans District 3 for discussion of potential solutions.
Super.
Okay.
There you go. Good timing.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the owl.
Yeah.
We're in older unfinished business.
Okay,
We can talk about the owl, right?
So,
Oh, yes, the owl.
That's the,
so we met with a gentleman from the OWL group named Wayno, a very nice fella from Boston. And so the OWL system is a freestanding system. It looks a lot like a Bluetooth speaker. I think it has some little elements that also make it look like an owl. It's about 11 inches tall, 2.5 pounds, and is incredibly portable. It is hardwired. It's not Bluetooth capable, so it would hardwire into a computer. And then depending on the computer that you land on would then also have to be hardwired into a monitor, if that's what we were wanting to go with. It does have the capability to be stood up on a tripod depending on how we wanted to function it, but we've determined through conversation that we are the optimal space and group to use this product. It has a really unique feature. It has 8 speakers and microphones throughout this small piece of equipment.
So it's omnidirectional.
Yeah, it's omnidirectional, so it's
It hears
round.
and photographs in all directions.
Yeah, it's got a
Yeah,
360 camera on the top, and it's really unique in that it has this ability to
crazy.
innately focus on who is speaking, so it draws to who is talking, but it also at all times, if you'd like to do this, has a 360-degree view so that the camera would be able to capture the entire board and the entire audience, as well as be
Yeah.
able to focus on who's speaking.
So when you look at its display, there's a thin strip along the top that shows the 360 view of the room. So you can see everybody who is in the room. And then the section down below, which is the majority of the picture, will show the person who's speaking. If multiple people are speaking at once, it will automatically split the screen to show the 2 people who are speaking.
I believe up to 3 speakers. You can
I'm
also...
not sure how it would do this with some of the multiple conversations that happen in this room, but you know, we'll try.
Yeah, and he did say that there is a feature on it where it has a built-in lag, like a 3-second lag, so that if somebody coughs or mutters under their breath or whatnot, it won't immediately pick that up.
Or drops their keys.
Or drops their keys or opens a can of seltzer or what have you. It won't immediately pick that up. It seems to be a really intelligent product. It also seemingly would work well in an event such as town meeting. The only thing that he did say might pose a bit of an issue would be if you're using a microphone, there could be some opportunity for audio kind of feedback.
It could be like if it's coming out of a speaker, it won't know where to point.
Right.
It'll want to point to the speaker rather than
The person.
But you can turn off the auto rotating thing and just have it point in a direction if you want it to.
Yes.
So,
But it's portable. I
Yes.
mean, between here and
Oh,
Meadowy
yeah.
School or
Yeah.
upstairs.
yeah, we can move it around easily.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it seemingly is about this big around and about this tall and 2 pounds.
But you need the hard wiring.
Yep, and all that is a power cord, much like a power cord to
Okay.
charge your computer, and whatever HDMI cord would go from the computer to the system, and then,
And he said
And
you
this-
can buy whatever length of that you want.
Yeah.
So if you need a longer cord to reach further, you can just get a longer cord.
yeah.
It's not a
It
problem.
comes from one that I think is about 12 feet long. They have an option to get a 16-foot long one, but also he said any sort of, outside one would be fine. So the price, because we are a municipality, we are tax exempt, and he said that many municipalities are utilizing this piece of equipment, and the price for us is a blanket price of $999 for this piece of equipment. It does come with a 2-year warranty, so anything that goes wrong with it within 2 years is covered. And for an additional, I believe it was
149.
149 you could purchase for a third year, and that also warranties breakage. So if it breaks, he said, also they don't send out demo devices, but we do have a 30-day trial. So we would have the opportunity to try it. And if for whatever reason we don't like it at all, we could send it right back within 30 days and could get a refund.
And so I think that, I mean, based on what we saw, I'd say I'd recommend this device.
I was impressed by it, and he did say that it's designed for people with little to no technological prowess.
Yeah. It doesn't come with any kind of software you have to install. You just plug it in, and it works along with Zoom. In fact, we were on a Zoom call with him, and he was using it.
Yeah.
So
it does have a mobile app. That's the one thing that it does require. So in order to do the setup, you do need a mobile app, which it is through Bluetooth, so anybody could go into it, but you could privacy protect it that way. You know, somebody out in the audience couldn't hack in and zoom in on, you know, my foot or something.
yeah, and we would then also need to purchase, I mean, for our setup in here, we'd want to purchase a large monitor of some kind so that we could then see the people who are zooming in. And I don't know where we'd want to put that. I almost feel like on one of the side walls would be convenient.
Although,
Audience could see.
Yeah.
You know, that one's kind of open. We could all maybe we could angle the.
yeah. Although alternatively, something which I might be taking words right out of Frank's mouth is that something else that we could consider purchasing for price, I don't know, but would be a projector with a screen. Because if we were wanting to use it, say, for town meeting, because I'm imagining that this, you know, this hybrid model is going to be traveling with us for a while, the projector and screen would also be portable. Projectors also generally do come with, you know, HDMI inputs, outputs, whatnot. So that way, that's just another option rather than hardwiring a screen.
So the other thing we'd have to do is have a standalone computer to go with it.
Correct.
And the screen. So we'd either have to get, like, I know at work they just buy those big LED, whatever,
LCD,
TV screens. They're about this thick, and they use them for all kinds of stuff. And
yeah. So I think when you break it down, it would require the purchase of the actual OWL product, a designated computer, or perhaps we could think, I know that there is a town hall laptop, which I don't know what the efficiency of it is, or if it could handle that, but.
I'm sure it's a couple of years old, so it's probably not worth monkeying with.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, this computer works fine when I, like, talk real nice to it and go, you know, I'm really gentle and slow, but I don't think this computer could handle streaming Zoom.
So,
as well as being
probably
relied on.
we need to talk to Vinny and see what.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you had done that or if I was supposed to.
I did not.
Okay.
I reached out to him once and I didn't get anything back, and I never followed through.
Yeah. I mean, we could, like, if the board was interested in pursuing this, he did say that we could have it for our next meeting if we were to approve the purchase, and they're out of Boston, so it would.
But we would have to, it wouldn't do us any good without the monitor and the computer and.
I think for the first round, if we had a computer, we could run it, and it would be on just a smaller scale, and it would at least allow people to be heard. Who could call in.
You could run it through a laptop or something, so,
Yeah,
so maybe we could see the audio,
They would be able to see us, no problem.
They would all be able to see us.
but like the board could see the electronic audio.
Yeah, like theoretically, we could have a laptop positioned at the board,
Right,
and so that the board could see the electronic audience, the electronic audience could see the board as well as the audience, and everybody would be able to hear who's calling in.
That's what I've done with my very bad, small setup for planning commission meetings. I set the laptop at that end of the table, and it just sort of, we have to look at it, but it's very small.
So.
3 points. One is the library has a projector and screen. We might be able to borrow that to try this out and then decide whether the screen is better to go or the standalone LCD screen. Some of those LCD screens I saw on the other day had Android built into it. Up at the Taco Experience in Poultney, get it on the wall. And we're cruising, browsing around, and you know, with a thing, and you can so the computer thing can oftentimes come built into the big LCD screen. It's actually
Cool.
So
Thank you.
we could try it out just by borrowing that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to buy it? We could we gotta squander that ARP money on something,
And,
right?
and it would be ARP, the
Yeah, it
ARP
could be.
funds could
Yeah.
be, and I mean, this is again, just an opinion-based thing, but I do feel like the community would all be in agreement that, I mean,
Definitely.
everybody that's interested in attending.
Julie wants to attend virtually,
Right.
Jennifer Sullivan wants to attend virtually.
Yeah.
Set a post,
Yeah.
kids.
And it doesn't happen often, but usually at least I'd say once or twice in between every meeting, I get a message, an email from saying, any word yet? You know, and now,
And they can interact with,
so it
Yeah.
functions the exact same way as Zoom.
No.
It also could mean that, you know, if there's a board member who, as we come into cold and flu season and somebody's like, hey, I'm not feeling well tonight, and you could still call in.
As
You know, and if you
my
couldn't be
traveling
here.
business picks back up again, I will be on the road
Right.
sometimes, so.
Right,
yeah.
so you could, you know, it just provides a nice option for people to, you know, be able to access these meetings, whether it be board
So
members
you made
or.
a motion?
Yeah, I move that we
Perfect.
purchase this owl.
Oh.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Alright,
Opposed? Carried. Nice.
alright, so Kristen, are you, I don't know if you got
I
the
didn't get that,
quote?
yeah.
Okay,
But
I
we-
should forward that to Julie then.
Yes, and we
Okay.
need our tax exempt information.
Alright, yep.
And if anything needs signing, we can send it to Mike and he could print it and scan it.
Okay. Got it.
I'll put this poor fella right out of a job.
Oh, no, he'll stay busy. Yeah. So, one other thing that came to my mind, just putting it out there, as far as the ARP funds, we've talked a little bit before about if all the select board members had a select board laptop or something, then that way we could be scrolling through all this stuff and not need any papers, and then it wouldn't intermingle any town business into our personal computers and stuff like that too. So that was just something I thought of that maybe something worthwhile spending ARP money on too.
Yeah, so I know we're at 9 o'clock, but I still have some ARPA stuff.
Keep
So,
going, please.
we were talking about if we can move into that, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were talking about, sending out some kind of information or survey to folks, and I think that it would be great to get on that fairly soon. So this list of things is not necessarily what we want to have on this list. I know we were talking about maybe narrowing it down to 5 things, but something looking like this is what here, take one, pass it down, is what I'm suggesting for a little like one-pager we might send out to people. And obviously this needs some adjustments, but it has some, I'll have to change this number once we find out exactly how much county money we're getting. But just has some facts about the money, what are the general categories we can use it for, and I think it's important to let people know the things we can't use it for, because everyone's gonna say, let's fix the roads and lower our taxes, and that would be great, but we can't with this money. So, and then, I don't know if we want people to mark their top 3 choices, or what we want them to do, but I figured we can make a list of ideas that we've had, and they can then mark on those, or put in a little place for people to share their other ideas that fit into one of the 3 allowed categories, again, so they don't say, let's do all this other stuff that we can't do. And I would then, along the bottom, I'll probably have to include where to send this back to, like to drop this off at the town hall, and it has email with more comments, or then we would probably want to have a link for how to attend the meetings virtually via Zoom with this. But I was wondering if something like this format looks like what we might want to do. Or if people have other comments. 'Cause I was thinking if we can finalize this by 2 weeks from now and decide what we want our possible options to be, then we could get it sent on out. And by then we'll have virtual meetings so people could attend virtually via Zoom, and we could start to get people's feedback.
I think it looks really nice.
I mean, I'd probably do a little more stuff with fonts and put in some colors or something.
The information on it, I think it is important to.
I think we should be specific who's asking for this. Is it with the planning commission and the select board? Should we say who it is?
The select board.
I mean, I had said the select board because we are the ones, I mean, I have two different hats here, but the select board is the ones
Oh,
who
it
will
says the select
decide.
board, I see.
Yeah, who will decide how much, where the money goes, because we're
That's
the
fine.
ones who decide on the money. Yeah.
I think playing, like you were saying, playing around a little bit with, it's on the front. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And just really driving home the point that the
Yeah.
select board is interested in hearing feedback from community members on something and getting, encouraging
Make that-
engagement and,
Make that large. Yeah.
in an effort to include one and all who wish to share their feedback. But that, again, that's more.
So we could send you messages or something that when we come up with thoughts about this
Yeah.
in between now and
Yeah,
next
absolutely,
meeting.
and
then-
I'll make updates on it. I know that we talked about maybe having about 5 different options, and this is more than 5, and not all of them are necessarily things that, some of them are things we know we want to do anyway, like purchase the equipment for the hybrid public meetings. But I also don't see why we shouldn't just put some of those things on here to see what people think. And it does have the bit about direct assistance, which is something we could do. And, yeah, so, oh, and I did hear back from Julie, the town, there was the option that we could use it to fill in for funds if the town had lost money. We did not.
Okay.
We did not lose money during COVID from like the income that the town gets. So that's not an option for us. So that's why there's only these 3 options here that are left for us: to respond to the public health emergency or the negative economic impacts, to give hazard pay to workers, but this would only be like town workers. We couldn't give like hazard pay to just like everybody, right? And to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband. So, yeah, please send me thoughts on like exactly what we might want our list of ideas to be, and any other adjustments to how this is formatted or put together. And I can put together a version 2.0 for 2 weeks from now.
I guess the question I would have is, how would you determine direct assistance to individuals? I mean, that
Well,
sounds like an undertaking right
It
there.
would be an undertaking. We'd have to find a way to, we'd have to make a mechanism for it. So that's why some of these would be easier than others. Like, do stuff with the wastewater plant would be easy, right? If we want to do direct assistance, there's a couple ways we could do it. We could have, like they did for the initial PPP loans, just have someone check and say, yeah, I was affected. So an example, we could have someone just check a box and say, yeah, I was financially impacted by COVID. And then anybody who said that could get like $200 toward their utility payments or something. Like folks could use that for their wastewater, or they could use it for their electric or whatever, That would be an option. But again, some time of town employees would be spent administering it.
And, go ahead.
My only thought was, in an effort to keep it smooth, I wonder if we could put some sort of a link or a location in which people could go to visit to do some research and perhaps take away some of these boxes that might require or lead to a lot of additional labor that might not be available, and kind of keep some of the options a little bit more simple.
I wanted to sort of get the feedback of which boxes we should keep.
Like maybe keep some of the more simple, like town functionality boxes, and then just say, we could say something to the effect of, for more information on what other approved uses for these funds could be, visit.
And then they could write more
And then they
ideas
could
down
say,
here.
I've been financially impacted by COVID, would love to see that,
Yeah.
Just because I think to some capacity, a lot of people have been financially impacted by COVID in one way or another, and it might be really hard and, it just might be.
Differentiate, right?
Yeah, and then the board might find themselves in a position of just having
I think
awkward
that could make
conversations.
way more work for us than benefit.
Letting people, building people up to let them down,
The other thing I'm thinking too is like these direct assistance things would be a very short-term, like, fix.
Yeah.
Like, you give somebody a couple $100 and they blow it in a couple months and it's gone. Where if we do infrastructure improvements or any of the bigger jobs on the bottom, we reap the long-term benefits from that type of
I agree
job.
with that.
Okay,
Frank?
that's awesome.
The problem is when you're doing direct assistance is picking and choosing. And
Precisely, good point.
I know of one landlord who the tenant has taken advantage of the COVID, not paying the rent. So if you give the landlord the money too, or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, so
trouble.
that's a touch and go situation.
Yeah.
Did you have something, Bruce?
No, I was just really saying what you guys are saying. Infrastructure would be a much better investment.
Long-term benefit for the town. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, the other thing I was thinking is that we might want to have a link for people who wanted to fill this out digitally. It would be easy to make a digital copy. And I was wondering, to a topic back a while ago, and I think I know who to talk to about that, if we also then would want to digitally make a Spanish language version. Because one of the things they talk about with the ARPA funds is that you need to make sure that the decision-making process includes people with different languages. And you sent me the contact info for that, the woman who helps with the translating.
Did you talk with them?
I have not yet, but I could work.
They could just stop within the last couple of weeks too.
Yeah, okay.
Great idea.
So I'll look into that.
We could also have the link, on the town website and what.
Yeah, exactly. We could widely publicize this.
I think Robert's gonna fall asleep.
I think so.
The only other item on older unfinished business, we have the West Pawlet property and then the outdoor recreational communities grant, which I know might be two big conversations.
The property, I think we gotta kind of put a pause on that until we can see about the stream, I think. So.
And
I
so,
did get some information from Jonas in regards to the Spruce Gum property.
Right.
You're referring to the one down with the,
I'm referring to the one that we had removed the trailer from and we.
Yeah, the spruce gum.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lot, there we go.
So my personal contribution to that is that folks reach out to the select board email about that, and I sort of have a canned, I did respond to
Yeah, to that guy, thank you.
Yeah, and I sort of have a canned response to just let them know that the town is working through the process and there will be a public notice put out before it's put up for sale.
and this is just some of the information that I'm just starting to gather. I think I showed you that.
Yeah,
Just in
I saw
regards to
that.
some of the setbacks, just so when we do get ready to sell it, the buyers know what they can and can't do with that property.
So
So
it's-
this is just the beginning.
Property line setback is 25 feet. He says ARR, but is that ARR right there? It's hard to say.
If it's not in the village center, I mean, within the designated village center, it's probably
Yeah.
AR.
The quarries is
The
where.
quarry makes it. The spruce gum. No wonder. I believe there's a stream running alongside it, whatever replaces the mobile home, it can't be any closer to the river stream. The lot may be in a river corridor protection area, so that would have to be looked at. Tom measured the old structure was 25 feet from the river stream. Any expansions of the structure may require a state water and waste permit. It would be just water. The town-owned property would languish for contract sale. A local permit should be applied for or received if construction is to occur. Okay.
So I think if we can determine the size of the lot that can be built on
Yeah,
for the structure would be
The house,
helpful
yeah.
for the buyers.
yeah, certainly.
And regarding this grant, I can summarize really quickly, and
Okay.
we can probably make a decision about it in 2 weeks, because basically this is a Vermont Outdoor Recreation Communities grants. It's a fairly large grant. Minimum is $50,000. How do you pronounce your last name? Surjane?
Surjane, yeah.
What Mr. Surjane has been proposing is this building of his that he was talking about with the wastewater hookup, right, this small building. He would be interested in getting that perhaps made into sort of it's not a kiosk, like a kind of a little welcome center for the rail trail that could have inside of it, it could maybe have some public bathrooms people could use. It could have little vending machines that might have some snacks and
Healthy snacks.
and
Like kind of like a farm store slash welcome center for the rail trail. Be kind of a hybrid setup a little bit, but I mean, everybody's doing it around here with farm stores that are their farms and stuff. This could be more of a local village one. that it'd be a positive thing for the town. It might turn the direction of the town around.
Yeah.
People are gonna come into the town more. Other stuff's gonna start to happen, bring more money in. Let's get the tax bill.
Now-
I wanted to also just add that I'm willing to put like any sort of revenue, or if the state could do a long-term rental on that property, I'd be willing to put money into a fund for the rest of the community to bring the tax bill down for the sewer specifically. So
Okay.
that's what I want to do.
Anyhow, I've looked a bit more into this grant, and we would have to talk a bit about whether it was an easement on the property or how long-term a lease would be. But it would be possible to get, there's no match on this grant. This is a no-match grant.
100%.
And 100%, yeah. And it fits in really well with what the grant is about. A letter of intent is due by August 27th. And it's a really very minimal thing. And then they would request for further people. In September, we would find out whether they wanted us to submit a full grant. I mean, yeah?
I just have a question. Since it's a personal, since it would be for your building that you personally own, is it a grant that's required to be applied to by a municipality?
Yes,
Or,
it's
okay.
required to be applied to by a municipality
Okay.
or by a nonprofit.
Okay.
And in fact, we ought to be partnering with some kind of outdoor recreational organization as well.
Okay.
Which I don't know if there are any of in Pawlet.
Well, I can start one.
Yeah, let's start. And obviously, if
We've been doing it for years.
it involves businesses, and also hopefully we could then put information inside this kiosk on like local businesses and things.
Yeah.
So getting local business owners involved would be good. So what I propose we do is that Mr. Surjane and I and anybody else that we want to rope into this project work for the next 2 weeks on putting together like a little letter of intent, and that we then present that in 2 weeks to the select board, which would just cut in under the wire for the deadline and see if this seems like something we'd want to do.
That seems, I mean, a letter of intent doesn't even
Yeah.
lock us into doing
Yeah,
the
it doesn't.
project.
The
It
letter-
just means that we're interested.
Yeah, exactly.
So that gets our foot in the door so we can see what it can amount to and see how we can develop, what we can develop it to. But if we don't even say, yeah, we're thinking that's a great idea, then we'd lose.
They
So,
also,
I think it's a great idea, I mean, honestly, and I think that a letter of intent is really
Okay.
a good starting point,
is there a
honestly.
canned letter of
Right?
intent? Usually there's like a,
There was a loosely put
It's-
together, maybe formal rail trail group, which would fit in perfectly with that. And also the state managing that, you contact their staff, they'd probably
Yeah,
be
the
enthusiastic.
state managing that is the same people who are doing this grant. It's the Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation.
Perfect.
Do you have the information on who this informal group was about
It
the?
was years ago, my mom was wrapped up in it, they used to cut the brush back, they did all sorts of stuff. But there was some horseback riders involved with it, and that.
Well, if you know anybody who was involved
I
with
lost
it.
touch with whoever those are.
Okay.
If I could ask, I don't know who right now. around-
Yeah, ask if you can, because it would be great to know those
The
people.
state people might know, because they
They
would be
might.
working with them.
Yeah, so anyhow, that's what we'd like to do is get together.
That sounds like a great direction to go.
All
you can
right,
vote me in.
Are we good?
all right, yeah.
If you want
Are we
any.
good?
Except, yeah, public comment.
Public comment?
The public who remained.
Right?
Quickly is, the Solar Fest folks are looking for property to have a concert, and they're looking at a farm, but, you could look at quarry property, and there's fully allowable, that type of thing to go on a quarry property. I think Jessica, don't you think? A live show, an event, and that would be probably something that they could lease from one of the quarry operators and set up a facility out there. And it'd be right near the solar panels.
That's true.
Right? Just thought.
Thank you. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Need a motion?
I need a motion.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great, thank you, everyone.